Long time no see, my friends, right? For those who remember my speech today, earlier on, this time I would like to speak about something more insidious. This is a more insidious side of the CCP, transnational repression. What exactly is it? It's a kind of repression that knows no bounds and no borders, my friends. We have heard many times about the atrocities of the CCP within the borders of China right now, within their technical jurisdiction. Although, to be fair, they make promises to the people of Hong Kong to respect their freedoms. They have backtracked on all of those promises, of course, as they would always do. But the truth be told, my friends, the real transnational repression that's happening right now is something that's invisible to the vast majority of people. And that's a very sad thing. The CCP is spreading their influence via the Belt and Road Initiative. They're spreading their influence via extortionate loans they give to poorer countries. They spread their influence by building up infrastructure in some places, sometimes with very shardy materials, let's face it, so-called tofu drags. But the question here is not the quality. The question here is, what will the CCP want in return? As the saying goes, no deal with the devil ever goes in the favor of the person who wants to make that deal. Whatever the CCP might be promising, whatever the CCP might start giving to the people, that they have made all of those promises, the price will be overwhelming. That is always the case. I'd like to make a small mention to just a couple of examples of transnational repression. This time, I'll make an example of Russia. Russia is the brute in the room. Russia does the things that the CCP does not want to be seen doing right now. The CCP sponsors those things as much as they can. They're not the only ones. The North Korean terrorist regime and the Ayatollah terrorist regime in Iran, they also sponsor Russia. But they do not have the sway the CCP does. The short-term enemy of Europe is Russia. That's a clear-cut statement. However, the CCP is more powerful in terms of their international influence. And their influence is not diminishing, it's growing. With the latest countless mistakes of the American administration, the CCP is filling up the gap. The countries that used to be friends of America, that have been threatened by the current administration, are now seeking closer relations with the CCP. This is a terrifying image, my friends. This is a terrifying thing that we need to oppose as much as we can. All of you, my friends, the Tibetans, the people of Hong Kong, the Uyghurs, all of you, you know what China is. Same as the Ukrainians know what Russia is. You know the enemy of the free world. That is why I'd like to say to all of you, thank you for coming here. And for telling the whole world the message that needs to be spoken, the message that must not be silenced. And whenever you feel like what you're doing is less important or it's irrelevant, think again. Because this is unbelievably important. If every person in this world told the truth, straight up, in an articulate way, then perhaps there would be less people believing in lies. But if people only have lies surrounding them, if they are surrounded by an echo chamber of CCP propaganda, of course they will believe it. Because they see no alternative. They don't see any counterpoint. That is why this has a purpose. What we do here has a deep meaning. I told many people today in this rally that the pictures I see in front of me, they're very much reminiscent of Maidan, which was the mass protests in Ukraine against the Russian puppet regime back then. The regime had fled the country, and now Ukraine is in a state of all-out war with Russia. Russia continues to act as if there's no war happening, as if they have more power to spare. They do not. The only thing they have to spare is their nuclear arsenal. That is the only thing they haven't used yet, because they're scared. They're scared of repercussions. The CCP, as has been mentioned today many times, is more cunning than Russia. It's a more dangerous enemy. It's an enemy further away from Europe, but it is still an enemy. And make no mistake, they will take the opportunity that is being squandered by America. That is why the free world needs to unite once more and remember what it truly stands for. Remember its ideals of freedom of speech, of tolerance, of rule of law, and forget about all of these populist scum betraying their country and selling it off to the CCP like Orban did, like Fico did, like Putin did, and like many others will do unless people know better than to believe in populist rhetoric. That sounds all fine and dandy. Oh, you know that other country? I don't care about that. That's not my country, not my borders. Foolishness. No country can survive in a vacuum. There is no such a thing as a vacuum for any country in this world. We're all in this boat together. And the CCP plans to take the reins of it, take the wheel, and drive it down a vortex. That is what they're planning to do. I've spoken with many people, both who lived in China, who visited China, who support and who oppose the CCP. And it's very interesting that every single time people say that they support the CCP, every single time they focus on very, very superficial things. Oh, you know, there's a lot of jobs. Oh, the transports are great. The cities, they're so clean. I mean, it sounds eerily reminiscent of what people say in support of North Korea. Yes, there are those who support North Korea. I thought it was insane too, but there are. They look at this dystopian image of a huge crowd of people, all in unison, clapping to their quote-unquote leader. And they see this as a good thing. Oh, look, there's no discord. There's no animosity. There's no opposition. My friends, it's all a lie. It's a big, fat lie. And people need to be told that these sort of aesthetics of liars, what the North Koreans do when they put their front buildings to the train station in a pretty way, they make them look pretty. But the buildings in the back, they look horrible. It's not very far apart from what China does. It's just that China does it better. They do it more skillfully. They hide it better. Ask them about Tiananmen Square. It's insane, but they always pretend it never happened. And if it did happen, it was the fault of the students. And if it wasn't the fault of the students, it wasn't as bad. And if it was as bad, other people did worse. It's the mentality of a psychopath. Every single time you call them out on a lie, they will make up another, and then another, and then another. No more. No more believing the CCP. No more concessions with their puppets like Russia. No more attempts of reasoning with them, or just tapping them on the wrist and saying, oh, you've been a bad boy. No more of that. There need to be real consequences for their violations of human rights. There need to be real consequences for their violations of the freedoms of this country and many other countries. They're trying their best to subvert. I thank you all, my friends, once again for being here. Me as a Ukrainian, I face no consequences for speaking out here. But you, the CCP, has a wider range of international repression than Russia does. So it's very brave for you to come here today, and I truly respect that. Stop the CCP!
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 All together, we will win!
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 Lastly, as I mentioned before, I'd like to just finish with one small example. This is an example of an individual who called out the Russian terrorist regime for what it is. This is the example of Litvinenko, who was poisoned here in this country with cold tea, and it became a code word for Novichok. Make no mistake, this should have been a more widely known cause. However, it is up to us to speak about it. It's up to us to inform people about all of these atrocities that Russia has done, the CCP is doing, and that they will do if they are allowed to do as such. Thank you. Героям слава!
Thank you, Mr.